Episode number 156 of the Wholesome Fertility Podcast. Welcome to the Wholesome Fertility Podcast. I'm Michelle, a fertility acupuncturist here to provide you with resources on how to create a wholesome approach to your fertility journey. So today I have Jessica on. Today, you guys, I'm going to actually do a fertility coaching call. And I do want to mention that I'm not a medical doctor. This is not medical information or medical advice. And I'm going to suggest for Jessica to speak to a qualified licensed practitioner in her area before doing anything we discussed today. And we're going to go ahead and get started. So Jessica, welcome. I'm so happy to have you, and thank you for trusting me with your process in this call. And I also wanted to ask you to go ahead and share your journey so we can go ahead and get started.
Sure. Thanks, Michelle, for having me. I'm a big fan. You had done some kind of fertility summit a while ago, which is how I found out about you. And all of those speakers were so great. And you were great. Signed up for your emails and listened to your podcast. So, so for sure, I'm excited to be here. So I feel like everybody has quite a journey when they're trying to have their first baby or second baby. So I had my son, he is 4. I had him in 2017, and I conceived easily very quickly. So the second time has been very difficult, and I was not expecting that. So that's been hard. Ladies out there who are experiencing the same thing, it's a different kind of hard than if you haven't had a baby yet, So I think I'm not the typical case, and I've not been able to find a ton of answers, which is partly why I'm here today. But so we tried to have our second baby in 2019 when my son was 2, and it actually took several months of trying, and we did get pregnant, which was very exciting because it took 7 months to get pregnant that time. But unfortunately, that pregnancy ended in an ectopic. And wow. Not know what it was at first, which, that's a whole nother story. But, I did have to have emergency surgery, which was scary. And I lost my tube on that side, unfortunately. But the ovary was fine. So my doctor was very, hopeful, like, oh, you'll be able to have another baby. You can try again. Like, this shouldn't affect you. Like, don't worry about it. And I was like, okay, great. Because, obviously we're still going to try again. So we did try again after that. That was February 2020. Except, of course, then, the world went crazy in March of 2020, and like COVID and all this stuff. So like, I was a little bit stressed also at the time, I'm sure. And then I've also been having a lot of thyroid issues that nobody's been able to solve. So that was kind of also going on, in the background too, of like, do I have Hashimoto's? Do I have hypothyroidism? Maybe I don't. Maybe I have hyperthyroidism. Like, my doctors were not being very helpful on that, unfortunately. So we kept trying on our own, nothing was happening. And then we finally decided to see I always get the name hard to say, reproductive
endocrinologist. Yeah.
Right. So we started seeing her in January of this year, 2021. And we did, a bunch of tests, which is pretty standard for them. One of which was an HSG, which I'm sure, again, a lot of women have had that. The HSG was not inclusive, I guess. The doctor never really explained it in depth to me. I feel like my other tube, my left side is the one I still have. I feel like there could be a possibility of something there, but that's never really been addressed. So I don't know if there's anything we can talk about later, in regards to possible tubal blockage. But she said, so I don't know, again, how everybody's familiar with the HSG. So basically they insert dye, down there through your tubes to kind of make sure they're open. So, so I guess the dye did come out but slowly. Like
Mm-hmm.
eventually she made it sound like it didn't come right away, but then it did. So she's
Mm-hmm.
like, so your tube's open. I'm like, it really? Is that really what that means?
Right.
And she said, yeah, it's okay. It did come through eventually. So, I think your tube is okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, I mean, she's the doctor. So I said,
Yeah.
okay. I don't know. It could be to me one of the issues that we've had, like, sperm can't get up there, the egg can't get through, maybe, like there could be issues with that too. But okay, so the doctor didn't want to focus on the tube, but okay. However, also to complicate things, I had just had COVID myself in
Okay.
January,
So
right
right
before we did this
before.
test.
Okay, got it.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure there's no research on, sorry, it's a quick sidebar. So there's probably no research on COVID affecting, tubes or like anything else, reproductive wise. However, I could have possibly been under an inflamed state,
Mm-hmm.
due to the virus, whatever.
Yeah.
So, maybe, but of course there's nothing out there. I tried looking into it a little bit and, I couldn't find anything about that. I am seeing a functional medicine practitioner
That's
also. I
great.
started seeing her
Good.
last year. So
Uh-huh.
we've been talking obviously through lots of these things as well.
Yeah.
And she's the one that pushed me actually to change doctors and really try to work on this thyroid issue, because she's like, I really think the thyroid might be your thing because
Mm-hmm.
it affects all these body functions, one of which is fertility. I had no
For
idea.
sure.
I
Yeah.
didn't know. That's actually another reason why I'm here, because I feel like the thyroid connection does not go, like, it's not the first thing people check. And sometimes doctors don't check all the thyroid numbers, which is part of
Right.
my situation. So
Exactly.
if other women who are in my boat, or like, maybe that's something you could look into if nothing else has worked. I
Yeah.
don't know. It's just sad to me that, this got ignored for so long, like 2 years almost,
Yeah.
before we really figured this out. Anyway, so okay, so we're trying with this reproductive endocrinologist. But then she decided to, like, oh, maybe you need to fix this thyroid issue. So she's like, we need to stop what we're doing. You need to fix that first. Don't come back to me till we have that, under control. Like,
Mm-hmm.
okay. She's not wrong. I just, I was frustrated, of course, because,
So
it's been a
this is
long
the
time.
functional medicine practitioner.
No, actually, this is my fertility doctor.
Oh, your
She put
fertility
the brakes.
doctor.
Yes, she put the brakes on me this spring in April
Mm-hmm.
and said, until you figure out your thyroid situation, she's like, you can't be pregnant with this. It's going to be bad.
So
She's right. I mean,
did she get any, like, a full thyroid panel for you?
she did not. It was my functional medicine
I'm
practitioner that did all
surprised
of
that
that.
she would just say fix it, and she's an endocrinologist just personally. That's
Right?
weird.
Yes. Well, the best I can say, and I don't want to, speak too meanly, because I know most people do the best they can, but
Yeah.
this is a very large practice. Like, I'm sure I'm one of hundreds of patients, if not more, that she's seen, because
Yeah.
she's told me several times, she's like, the wait list for IVF is huge. Like, everything takes a long time. It's really sad. No, that's a separate issue. It's really sad how many women are struggling with this now and, need help.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great that we have the help, but it's also really sad that, we're like full to bursting at the fertility clinics. Like, oh,
I
okay.
know. I know it is crazy, but I will say, with all due respect to her,
Mhm.
I would get a second opinion, get another
I've
reproductive
been thinking about
endocrinologist,
that. Yeah.
because she could be great, but she has one perspective, and it's good to get another perspective for sure, because sometimes people will pick up on something that another person did not pick up on, and it's good to be thorough. I'm surprised. Did anybody give you a full thyroid panel? You said the functional medicine doc did,
Yes,
right?
the functional medicine doctor did. We've done several rounds of that just to kind of watch my numbers. And then I did finally switch, like, just regular endocrinologists, to deal with the thyroid.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I did finally switch doctors there, and this new one I have, I really like.
That's
She is
great.
actually the one who figured out that I have Graves'
Okay.
disease,
Yeah.
the hyperthyroidism,
Uh-huh.
and my functional medicine person definitely thought I had something autoimmune, but we were not able to figure out what. All the
Mm-hmm.
typical stuff like lupus, None of that
Hmm.
stuff came back on the tests like we tested for all that too.
Have you
So,
gotten tested
sorry.
for celiac?
No, you know what? We have not done that. We didn't go we didn't do any food stuff, but that's interesting. That's another thing I've thought about. I was not sure
Yeah.
if I wanted to take that one on too, because of course most of the fertility people I've read up on, suggest like giving up gluten and,
Yes.
dairy, all the dietary
Yeah.
changes, which I've been trying to do. It's just been difficult.
No, I totally get it. Here's the thing with
Food is an
gluten.
issue for me for sure. So,
Gluten and I'm gluten free. My kids are gluten free. If I can get my kids to be gluten free after having gluten,
yeah.
it's not so bad. I can tell you
Okay.
that.
Well, that's
Because
encouraging.
yeah,
Okay.
but however, you need a strategy. You need it's
Yeah.
just like anything, you need a strategy in place, something that will make it easier to accomplish. Just like anything,
Mm-hmm.
it's all about strategy and planning, and then it's easy. Not
Mm-hmm.
easy, but
Okay.
it's manageable. It's much more doable. But if you go cold turkey, you don't know where to go, you don't really do the research, then it's a lot harder.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I'll tell you one thing. It's a lot easier to be gluten free in today's day and age than it's ever
Yes.
been in history. Because you can go to restaurants now, they have gluten free menus. It's a lot easier. It's much more commonplace because a lot of people have sensitivities in gluten. Now, the only
Mm-hmm.
reason I'm really stressing that is because you have an autoimmune condition. And
Well,
typically, yeah.
yes. Actually, there's more. Sorry, my story
Okay.
is
Oh
quite
yeah,
a
yeah.
long one.
Keep
I will
keep
try
keep
to
going.
wrap.
Yeah, keep going.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'll try to wrap it up so you have all the pieces because I feel like
Oh no, no.
this
Don't
has been
wrap it up. Give me the information because I need I need all of it.
okay. So this new endocrinologist, she specifically specializes in the thyroid, which is why I researched and found her and was, very happy that she is a thyroid expert, as her website said. So she figured out about this, like I said, that I had Graves, and she put me on a medication to start at least helping.
Hmm.
Because again, I don't know, how much people know about thyroid numbers or if you do, but so my TSH, that's the general thyroid number you look at, which, doesn't say the whole story, but generally that's kind of one of the things you look at. So my TSH was down zero point 0.1, zero point 0.2 for years. And my other doctor was like, you don't need
That's
medication,
very
I
low.
don't know.
Just FYI.
It's very low.
Yeah.
Typically your
For
range
people, I'm
should be,
saying FYI, not to you, to the
oh,
listeners.
yes,
Yeah.
that's very low. That's like bad low. Like I felt not good, like off. I mean, I
Yeah.
could tell. I just could not pinpoint exactly what it was, but like I did not feel right. And your normal range should be more like 1 to 2, like 1.0 to 2.0, like somewhere in there is what we're trying to aim for. So I was down at 0.1. That's really bad. You don't want to be there. You don't want to be up high either. I know. I've done
Yeah.
lots of looking
It's
into this. So I'm
exactly. It's that
well
happy
versed.
happy place. Yeah.
I'm well versed in thyroid stuff now. Anyway, so this new endocrinologist was like, I know this is like a major thing to think about, but she's like, I actually think you might benefit from having your thyroid removed because the other things that I have, my other risk factors, I had nodules that were growing. So that apparently is very common. They're kind of like not like tumors, because that's
Hmm.
like a really negative word,
Benign.
but
They're
like just little
benign.
growths, right?
Yeah,
They're
like
benign. And I
non-cancerous.
had them tested. They were not cancer in any way, but they were growing like faster than the doctors would like. So I've done like a ton of biopsies because once they grow, they have to check them all the time. So I have these nodules. My mother had thyroid cancer.
Okay.
She's fine,
Yeah.
but just I have that in my family now, unfortunately. And then of course we're trying to have another baby. Okay, so anyway, so she said, I really think you should think about that as a possible thing. And then, the autoimmune is gone, thyroid cancer risk pretty much goes down to zero. It's pretty, I mean, it's surgery. So,
Hmm.
she's like, obviously, I don't want you to do this in one day. You need to think about it. So I took a couple months to think about it. And I actually did have my thyroid removed in July. So like
Hmm.
2 months ago, 3 months ago ish.
Yeah.
Um, so anyway, so I'm off the one medication I was on, and now I'm on it's like that standard one, Synthroid.
Synthroid. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. So I do have to take that the rest of my life, which is not awesome, but I decided that that was preferable than all these other
Of
risk
course. Yeah.
factors that I had.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I got a great surgeon and felt very good about that. So that was July, and we had to wait at least one cycle to kind of let things calm down before we started trying again. So we did. Obviously, I'm not pregnant yet. Like, it didn't work that time, but we're in the middle of the next cycle now. However, one of my other interesting things, so I had a very short cycle before. Like, I used to have 23-day cycles,
Hmm.
which is not awesome in a lot of ways. It's not healthy, and also it's, a little more frustrating when it comes that often. But now, after my surgery, it's lengthened, like it's gotten
Hmm.
closer to 27, 28 days. So that's exciting.
Hmm.
That's been something that's been really good. However, I still seem to be ovulating early.
Hmm.
Like this cycle, it seemed like it was maybe day 10 or 11, which I didn't used to do that either. So I don't know. I
What
mean,
was it before?
well, before I had my son, I was like very regular. Oh, I should
Oh.
probably also tell you
Hmm.
that I have PCOS. That's one of my
Okay.
other.
Okay.
Sorry, I should have started with that. That's one of the
No,
big
it's
factors.
okay. It's a lot. It's a lot for sure. You've been through so much. My God.
I know. That's why I'm like, I'm sorry that like there's just so many things, but I just
Oh, please don't
yeah.
apologize.
So PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome. I got diagnosed with that when I was 15. Was on birth control for years because that was the standard treatment.
Yep.
I've been off of that I went off of it obviously because I wanted to have my son, which he was the result of that.
Right.
However, when I went off of birth control, I was probably off birth control like a year, maybe more before I had him. My cycles were still pretty regular
Hmm.
at that point, which
Right.
amazed me because all my life I've been told PCOS, your cycles will be weird, it'll be hard to
Hmm.
get pregnant, all
Yeah.
this stuff. I've been told that for decades.
Right.
And then I got pregnant with him in 2 months. Like, it was
Yeah.
very easy.
Right.
I mean, it was awesome. I was so surprised. Great. And I love him. He's a great kid. So anyway, I just, kind of figured the second time would be the same,
Yeah.
and it totally hasn't. But that's because after he was born, I started having these thyroid problems. And apparently pregnancy can throw you into that, like make it,
Can. Yeah.
be happening. So I think that's
Exactly.
probably what happened because I definitely didn't have any of these problems before he was born.
Yeah. And
Like,
it
my
can. It
thyroid
could
numbers
it could throw
were all
things
good.
off. Yeah, for sure. It could definitely affect your thyroid. And same, I mean, I had undiagnosed PCOS. I had the symptoms. My period was all over the place. So, and
Mhm.
you could totally resolve it. It's not, but again,
For sure.
Western medicine has their kit of tools, which some of
Mm.
them are amazing. They have their
Yeah.
tools, but they don't know past that. And then you go to a functional medicine doctor or an acupuncturist. Everybody has a different perspective, which is why I think it takes a
Yes.
village. I don't
Yes.
believe it's a one size fits all at all for anybody.
Mhm.
And I think it's important
Yes.
that you're doing your research. It sounds like you're doing everything right because you've gone and you've researched and you checked out and you went to different doctors and you're doing everything that you can possibly do. So kudos to
Yes.
you.
Well, thank
Um,
you. I know I was going to
yeah,
say the other side of that is it's exhausting doing
of
all this
course it
work.
is. Of course it
Like, it's a
is.
lot.
It is, and it's like detective work. So you're gonna
Mm-hmm.
have to, you have to go and research and figure it out. Even when people come to
Yes.
me, it's the same thing. Like, I'm detecting as I'm going because I don't know how they're gonna respond. So same thing with
Sure.
doctors. They don't know how you're gonna respond with certain treatments, and it's
That's
like
true.
testing it out, trying things out, and so just kind of for you and for other people to keep in mind that that's just normal. It's actually very normal in the healing process of trying to get to the bottom of everything.
Yes.
So for PCOS, what supplements are you taking? Just
Yes.
overall.
Well, so my functional practitioner, functional medicine lady, she, we had a long list of things. I was actually taking some stuff already, and then, she had added a few things. So,
So probably
okay.
inositol.
Yes, I'm definitely
Yeah.
doing that.
Uh-huh.
I'm taking Ovasitol, which, not to totally like plug somebody else per se, although I can't remember if you've talked to her or not, but Amy Mendling is the PCOS diva,
Yes,
and
she is.
I've done lots of work with her and followed her because she, got lots of great resources out there. So PCOS people, if you're listening, that would be somebody to check out. Anyway,
Yeah.
so I've got her product. Well, it's not her product exactly, but Avastotol, which
Mm-hmm.
isn't an inositol. So
Right.
definitely I'm taking that. I'm taking fish oil
Mm-hmm.
in a pretty high dose because my functional medicine person was like, I think you probably have lots of inflammation going
Yep.
on due
Yep.
to PCOS and, you know, autoimmune at the time, you know, because that's
Right.
when I was seeing her. So I'm on a pretty high dose of fish oil that I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing, because we talked about adrenal stuff. And of course, now I can't remember. It's a supplement that's a kind of combination of like rhodiola and
Mm-hmm.
ashwagandha. It's got a couple different things in there like that. So I
Mm-hmm.
take that one as well to help with, because I was really tired. I have a young child, so I know that's partly why I'm tired. But I think there was some other stuff going on too, and that seems to have helped
Mm-hmm.
that particular supplement.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what else. NAC,
Mm-hmm.
which I forget what that stands for, but that's another one
And
recommended.
acetylcysteine.
Yes, that's it
Yeah.
for PCOS, and then also like blood sugar management and
Mm-hmm.
egg quality and a few other things. Let's see what else. I have like a whole like I should take you to my kitchen and be like, here's my whole shelf of supplements. Vitamin D, I'm definitely taking.
Yeah, very important.
Probably like either 2,000 or maybe 5,000 depending on the day. I try to have that be accurately the same, but
Have you tested for D?
yes, my levels for vitamin D are like 50 something, like 53 maybe, something like that.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I started at 30.
Okay, but you're good. So you're absorbing
I
it.
worked up to, yes, because I know that especially for fertility wise, they recommend like 50 to 60 or something like that. Your levels should be for
And
vitamin
you
D.
also, one of the ways that we absorb it is through magnesium. So just FYI to you and to the listeners,
Yes,
if people are deficient in magnesium, they may be deficient
yes,
in D as much as they get sun and
for
supplements.
sure.
It's just not going to absorb right. So that's
Yes.
something to keep in mind.
I would definitely, I tell people that all the time because
Yeah.
pretty much almost the entire population is vitamin D deficient, and most people don't know, you know, that they are, because why would you necessarily test that? But I've been testing it
Yeah.
for years. And so, yeah, I definitely, I've worked up from 30, which was not great, to, you know, in the 50s. And I do take magnesium. I'm glad you mentioned that. I'm
Yeah.
taking about 400 milligrams of that a day,
Mm-hmm.
at night, because I read that it's good to take it before bed. Like it helps kind of relax you too, which has been nice. That's been a good nighttime benefit.
Mm-hmm.
I am taking a prenatal,
Mm-hmm.
which I mean, I've heard back and forth from people about that. Like there might be other ways to get those same kind of nutrients. And definitely I'm taking one that has folate
Good.
instead of folic acid, because that was
Great.
another thing I read was
Yeah.
important.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I don't know if I have that gene mutation, the one that is
MTHFR.
right. I don't know if I have that. I've not been tested for it, but I figure since I have PCOS already, I might as well, you know, try to be doing the better one, which is the
But keep
folate.
in mind, so I would definitely test for that. Number one. Number two
Okay.
is if you're having a lot of wheat products, they're enriched with folic acid. And if somebody does have
Oh,
MTHFR and they're
oh,
having those, folic acid come into their body from that,
yeah.
it actually acts like a block to the folate. So it
Mm-hmm.
actually doesn't get absorbed and it gets in the way. So it's actually not good for people with MTHFR to have any folic acid.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I didn't know that. All right, that's
Yeah.
good. I mean, I considered about getting tested anyway, but that's a good
Yeah.
good thing to know. I did not, did not know
Yes.
that. That figures, right? Man, all that good, delicious, gluten-y
Well,
food,
there's some
so
really
bad.
delicious gluten-free foods. So I will say that there's some really delicious pasta. I mean, to the point where my husband, he's like, he loves his bread, he loves his pasta. And if he tells me that he can't taste the difference, then
Oh,
that's huge.
yeah,
Yeah,
that
so it
is.
depends on the
Wow.
brand, it
Mhm.
depends on the brand, but you could definitely get some really good ones.
Okay. That again is encouraging to know. Okay, because I will tell you,
It's
yes,
just
pasta
it's
is one of my
all
things.
strategy, strategy,
Okay.
strategy, strategy.
Okay. Well, that's good. You are making me feel much better, because I will be honest that emotionally, like the last couple months have been very like I mean, I think a lot of women out there do this. We beat ourselves up like I'm not doing the perfect job, and I haven't
Exactly.
gotten pregnant yet, so like I'm sure that's my fault. I'm not
Oh,
doing something.
totally. No, it's very, first of all, it's very valid and
Oh,
normal that you're feeling that way, but it's very common, but it's absolutely not your fault, and you know that. I think logically
I
you
do.
know that. But
Logically,
it's
I do.
it's a natural tendency. I think we just as humans tend to be hard, especially as women. We tend to be
Yeah.
hard on ourselves, especially when it comes to such a primal part of our life. This is
Hmm.
primal, wanting to have babies, wanting to fight for it, and you feel like you're walking on molasses. You're not getting anywhere. You're kind of just trying to move, and it's very hard because you're kind of constantly getting setbacks. And this is typical of the fertility journey.
Yes, that's what I'm finding out, which, it's I keep hearing from a bunch of the groups I'm in, like it's the best worst club to be in. Like it's so
Yes, I
true.
know.
Like
Worst
I
club to
mean,
be in, best members, because
yes,
they're
I
the
was gonna say
best.
yes, I the people that I've met on like I'm in a couple Facebook groups, and then I did join a she does actually she was on your summit, Erin, I forgot her
Oh
last
yes,
McCall thing, right?
McCullough. Yeah,
With Fertile Hope Yoga. So
yeah, she's
I did
wonderful.
join that. I did join
That's
her
great.
group, and then I'm in a group with some other women who are in the same boat as me. Like we all have one child already. We're trying to get our second one. So that's actually been really helpful and great because those girls are great, and it's nice to be
Yeah,
able to talk to
it's
somebody that
huge.
understands. I mean,
Totally.
my husband is a wonderful man, so like I'm not trying to say anything bad about him, but like he doesn't get it in the same way. Like it's just not the same for him. I mean, he
Yeah.
cares. He wants a second child too. Like for sure, he's on board.
You're not alone. You're not alone. Everybody processes things differently, and women and men process it very differently. So it's important to have your sisterhood and have
Yes,
other women that you're going through this with. A lot of women, I mean, a lot of people in this community are so compassionate. Some of the most compassionate, supporting people. Like I said, yeah, you just mentioned best club. Absolutely. I mean, worst
right,
club, best members.
right.
That's what it is.
Yes, exactly. I
Right,
would
right.
agree because all the women I've met, and like Erin is great, and not that I shouldn't say like that I know you guys all personally, but just the limited workings I've had.
Yeah.
I've done a few like video things with Amy Madeline and some of the stuff that she has said, and then you and a couple other people. Like everybody's been really great about it, and that helps
Of
for
course
sure
it
because
does. Of course.
like anyway, yes. So I forgot what we were
So
talking.
you're taking a
Yes,
prenatal. You said
yes.
inositol, ashwagandha, NAC, alpha lipoic acid.
No, I don't think I have that one.
That's
I
also really
don't know what
good.
that is.
Okay, so
Okay.
I'm gonna kind of put this on another list of just
Hmm.
things that
Oh, sure.
help.
Yes, if you have other ideas, totally.
Yeah, and it's a lot, and I know it's a lot of supplements. And a lot of times when I have people, if I'm either doing coaching or in person, I tell them, I give them a list, but it's not forever. It's
Right.
really to get the egg quality up. And we
Yes.
don't get the supplements that we used to get from food, the natural
Hmm.
supplements, because soil is depleted, there's overproduction. It really makes a difference in the type of supplements, vitamins, nutrients that we're getting. So we do
Hmm.
need to supplement at least for a little bit. But
Yes.
before even getting to the supplementation, we need to work on the gut. Because if
Hmm.
your gut is sensitive to certain foods, you're not going to be absorbing it. If you're getting too much
Right.
inflammation, just think about what happens when you look at your skin. If it's inflamed for any reason, what happens? The pores get really tiny because they're squeezed and it can't absorb anything because it's so full and inflamed that
Hmm.
nothing's going in. So that's something to keep in mind. It doesn't matter how many of the right supplements you're taking. If the food's not right, it's not
Mm.
going to work.
Yes, I was gonna say that reminds me of another person. Sorry to be all like
Oh, I
saying
know who it is because she goes, you can't out supplement a
a
shitty
crappy
diet.
diet.
Yeah, that's Amy Raup.
Right.
Yeah, she's
I'm like, I bet you
amazing.
know who I mean.
I do.
Yes.
I've had many conversations with her, and
Hmm.
it's 100% right on, spot on,
Yes.
because it doesn't matter what you're getting if you're not eating right. It's going to
Hmm.
impact. It's going to impact how your body's assimilating the nutrients, everything.
Hmm.
So you're taking inositol, ashwagandha,
Yes.
NAC, vitamin D, magnesium, and
Yes.
prenatals with folate
Yes, and I do have a probiotic I've been
and
taking.
and omega.
Yes,
omega
and omega.
3s,
Yeah.
probiotic. Uh-huh.
Yes, because as we were talking, I'm like, oh yes, that's another one. I'm taking that. Let's see. Trying to like go through my day and be like, what do I take at breakfast? What do I take at lunch? What do
Yeah.
I take at dinner? I feel like that. Oh, CoQ10.
Okay, good. Yeah.
And I did. I wish I hope.
Ubiquinol, right?
Yes, I was going to
Hmm.
say I did a little bit of research, and there seemed to be. I always get the names mixed up, but there's one like better kind.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the one I have. I
Hmm.
looked around for one because, of course, that's not the common one that's on the
So
shelves everywhere.
just for people to remember, so
Mhm.
ubiquinol ends with an L, love. Ubiquinone, no.
Oh, that's a good way to remember.
Just, you know, it's
Yes.
just one way to remember, but
Okay.
it's not terrible, but it's cheaper and
Yes.
you'll have to supplement with more with
Correct.
ubiquinone. So it's
Yes.
better to do ubiquinol. It's just you're getting more bang for your buck.
Right. That's what, yes, that's what I found out. So I
Yeah.
have a brand that is that kind specifically. I think
Hmm.
it's maybe like 200 milligrams or something is the
So I
size
would do 600 of that.
of that. Okay, sure.
Yeah, I mean, but again, speak to this isn't medical advice. Speak
Oh, right.
to your
Yes,
functional medicine practitioner
for
first,
sure. Okay.
because obviously I'm cross state lines. So if it's cross
Oh,
state
right.
lines, I can always just give educational
Yes, I was
information.
going to say suggestions. Yes, I
Yes.
understand. Okay.
And all right. So anything else?
I think that might be it.
Okay. All right. So um, ashwagandha. I do want to mention ashwagandha in cases of autoimmune conditions.
Hmm.
It's under the category of nightshades,
Oh.
and it could cause an exacerbation. Just something
Oh,
to keep in mind.
wow. Okay.
So, knowing that you had Graves, we don't know if you have other underlying autoimmune conditions because there
Mm,
can be a lot of other ones that you haven't seen or tested for. It's something to keep in mind.
okay.
Rhodiola is fine,
Okay.
but ashwagandha and goji berries fall under that category.
Okay.
So that's just something to keep in mind.
Yes, I did
Maybe,
not know
maybe,
that. That's
yeah,
good.
maybe do like the rhodiola, and then maybe combine it with like L-theanine. There's sometimes they have L-theanine and GABA. And
Hmm.
instead of coffee, maybe have green tea because it has L-theanine naturally in it, which is
Oh,
why it
okay.
gives you that calm alert. So you're calm and you're alert,
Um,
and only 1 cup a day because of course you don't want to have too much caffeine
right.
in your system.
Hmm.
So that's just one thing that I'll recommend. Another good thing for egg quality is glutathione.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes. I've heard of that because I was going to
yeah.
say I don't think I'm taking that, but I have heard of it.
It is really great. Pure Formulations is really a great product.
Hmm.
They have liposomal glutathione. Alpha lipoic acid is also good for egg quality. Just something to kind of mention. And then
Hmm.
as far as probiotics, they're great, but it's important to have prebiotics, lots of vegetable fiber. You can also eat um, like kimchi if you like spicy or sauerkraut with the meal.
Hmm.
Not too much because it's definitely going to bloat you and give you all kinds of gas.
Right.
So you want to
Yes.
you want to go easy on that, and little by little introduce it into your body,
Okay.
into your diet. I would definitely consider trying to go gluten free. So I don't say this for everybody, but I do tend to just see that gluten tends to create inflammation, especially
Hmm.
now with all the spraying. It's just like everything, it's very hard to find organic kinds. And there are a couple of foods that can definitely cause more inflammation, and that being gluten, dairy, corn. There's certain types of foods that just like soy that
Hmm.
tend to cause more inflammation, sensitivities. They just kind of tend to be on the top of the list of more common,
Okay.
especially when there's autoimmune conditions. Another thing is you definitely want to rule out celiac.
Right.
The thing
Okay.
is with that is you almost have to have gluten in your system
Oh.
just to see. Really, I think it might be more with sensitivity. Celiac, you might be able to just test anyway.
Okay.
But with gluten sensitivity, you just want to see that there's markers, and now of like IgA or IgG, like
Yeah.
basically showing an immune response. Now you may want to talk to your functional medicine practitioner
Hmm.
to run a food sensitivity panel.
Yes, I've been considering that. Those things you just said about the IG, she's run a couple of those on other tests before.
Mm-hmm. For
To
what?
kind of
For
Well, it
food?
wasn't for food. The IG, the what did you
IgG?
say? Yes. So
Uh,
there was that one, and then IgA, maybe you
mm-hmm.
said.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure she's run those before on me, but it wasn't like food related. I think she was just trying to see where my levels were at because there was another
Mm-hmm.
because there's been so many things on my blood test. What was it? I think it was called like ANA antibodies or something.
Mm-hmm.
That was a thing that she's run like almost every time just to see consistency because it's been positive for me, which it's not supposed to be. So that's
Mm-hmm.
why she said I had some kind of autoimmune thing, but we haven't been able to figure out, what it is.
Yeah.
Um, okay, but so those that IgG, that's specifically like you said that
I
as an
think
immune.
it's basically all it's going to show that you have a sensitivity, that your
Okay.
body's reacting.
Okay.
So it's generating some kind of immune response to certain foods to show that you're sensitive. And in certain cases, it's
Okay.
because you're eating something a lot. You just remove it for a while and then you reintroduce it, depending on what it is. However,
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to autoimmune conditions, they just do better going gluten free. Actually, to take it another step further, I could say even like the paleo, like there's an autoimmune paleo diet,
Mm-hmm.
and it's basically the paleo diet without nightshades.
Okay.
So look into that. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that once you look into it and you kind of give yourself the different options that you can have, then you know what you can make for the rest of the week and just look into, I mean, nowadays you can find so many recipes. And if that's too much, you can also do, I think there's certain food meal plans that they can send to your house that are specific to a type of diet that you want.
Mm-hmm.
They do it for everything.
Yes. Oh, for sure. I know
And
they.
there's so many
Yeah.
companies that do it. So it makes it a little easier.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to do it that way, if you like to cook, then you just kind of, move around it and kind of look for recipes. I mean, there's so much out there that you can look into. And I have something on my website under the resources. It's basically meal plans. Like,
Hmm.
and this woman who's a chef, she created it. So it's
Okay.
called Prep Dish, and she sends out every week a food list, a grocery list, recipe list
Oh.
specifically under for if you want to do keto, if you want to do paleo, if you want to do whatever it is your diet is. And she also had one specifically for her pregnancy that helped her get pregnant, and she
Oh.
like reset. So she has a whole list, and it helps you because you prepare ahead of time. You have a food list, recipe list the week before, you get everything prepped, and she gives you tips on how to do that. So it makes it a lot easier. Then you kind of have a strategy in place. And then over time, you're going to feel a lot better. It's going to improve your energy. You're not going to feel as weighed down. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and but if it makes you feel better, you can actually get like an actual test so that you can confirm if you really do have any food sensitivities. And what I suggest is something called Wheat Zoomer you can
Okay.
do, because it also tests for the peptides, which is after digestion, rather than just the proteins, which a lot of food sensitivity panels do. So it gives you a little bit more detail. So they have with one of the companies that I use, they do pretty comprehensive panel of foods for food sensitivities. And then they
Mm-hmm.
do a four zoomer, they call it. So you can do like dairy, wheat, soy, and corn, and then see if you're more sensitive to that. But I would definitely mention it to your functional medicine doctor because I'm sure she knows or she's done that before.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
for sure.
yeah. But for sure,
Okay.
I think the diet will definitely have a big impact.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure. I mean, HSG could be pretty invasive and it could be painful for some people, uncomfortable.
Oh,
So I don't
yes.
know if I would suggest to go do it again.
Well,
But
yeah,
if you have somebody, it may not be a bad idea just to see
right.
what's
If it
going on
looks
and get a
different.
different perspective than your initial doctor, because you want
Okay.
to make sure that nothing else is going on that's causing that, because you don't want to have another ectopic, which can
Right.
obviously impact your
Yes.
life.
For sure. That's when I originally had it and I looked into it, did some research on that too. It does, like, once you have one, then you have a higher risk of having it happen again, on the other
Mhm.
side. So of course, that is in my mind as well. Um, but yes, I I don't enjoy having things done down there, which I know most
Yeah,
women
I
probably
don't think
don't.
anybody does. Yeah.
But I've always had, like, it's always like exams, all of that stuff has always been kind of hard for me. Like,
Yeah.
I get really nervous and tense up. And of course, that makes it worse, and
Yeah.
anyway, so I'm not like excited about the idea of doing the HSG again, but I've been thinking about that recently. Like, well, maybe something else was going on then, with the COVID or who knows exactly
Yeah,
what.
and it could just be a little inflammation. You don't
Right.
know. And I would
Exactly.
definitely suggest, just as a general, I love bone broth. Bone broth is really good.
Yes.
It's great for the body. I don't know if you're taking it now, but you can just have it. I mean, literally, people put it in like in their mug and have it as like their morning tea. It's kind of
Yes.
like
Yes.
you just have it.
Exactly.
It's really good for your gut.
Yes. I have
So
heard that.
yeah, so that definitely keep your feet covered on the cold tile. You just don't want
Mhm.
cold feet. But you
Yes.
do want to do some earthing once in a while. If you're in a cold environment, you can get a grounding mat. It does really help. It helps with inflammation too. There's science
Okay.
to it. You can watch a movie that's free on YouTube. It's called The Earthing Movie, and they go
Mhm.
into detail on how beneficial that is. So I always say use the elements too. I'm going to kind of throw this in there. So it's kind of a protocol that I do with my clients, my patients, is earthing, putting your feet on the earth, or getting a grounding mat. Don't use it during any lightning storms, just FYI. Just kind of keep that in mind. But yeah, use a grounding mat indoors if you're in the winter and it's cold and you can't go out and put your feet on the earth. So you could do that as an
Yes.
alternative. In the mornings, get sunlight. Get sunlight
Mhm.
in the mornings. If you can't do that, if it's too dark, you can get a sun box or a light box. Light
Mhm.
box. It's
Mhm.
really good for anxiety. It's good for any kind of emotions. It also helps with your circadian rhythm, which can impact your cycle, because it's kind of
Yes.
like you're looking at the seconds of a clock, right? That's the
Mhm.
daily. And then you look at the hour hand. The hour hand could be like the infradian rhythm, which is the monthly rhythm, which goes along with a moon. So if you are trying to fix the hour and the second hand isn't working, how do you think that it's going to impact the hour, right? Because it's
Oh,
all
for sure.
the same. So
Mhm.
the same thing with our circadian rhythms, getting that sunlight in the morning, because just like how sunlight teaches our mind or shows our brain that it's daytime now, you're supposed to be awake, having
Mhm.
light right before you go to sleep, artificial light, is going to confuse the
Right.
brain. So
Oh,
you want
yes.
to know, you want to definitely make it known to your body, to your eyes, to and training your brain, your body, that it's daylight in the morning. And you want to make sure that your body's exposed to it as much as possible. While it's the sun is safe, if it's in a warm climate, you want to do it early because it's
Mhm.
safe around that time. And so you want to really entrain your body with the environment. Also, breath work is really important.
Mm.
We hardly
Yes.
breathe enough. So just doing breath work every day
Yeah.
can help also with any kind of anxiety that you feel. And I would definitely suggest, if you're going to do the HCSG, um,
Mhm.
definitely do
Oh,
breath work and slow down your breath. And yeah,
definitely.
it's a tool you can use throughout the day.
Hmm. Oh yeah, for sure. I've definitely, again, across the last couple months, been trying to work on, yeah, the emotional, mental side of things, like
Hmm.
some meditations. Because, like, again, Erin with Fertile Hope Yoga, she's got a bunch of meditations on there.
Yeah, that's
So I will
wonderful.
play those throughout the day, or like before bed. I was doing for a while. That was kind of nice too, to have, like, her nice voice talking to me about, various things.
Yeah, that's great.
But yeah, for sure. I want to try to incorporate more of that, during the day. So I actually, which, this well, it is kind of fertility related, but so I actually quit my job
Mm-hmm.
a
Yeah.
couple of months ago. So I used to be a teacher, which I miss tremendously. Like I love my students and stuff. But I'm sure anyone out there who is a teacher and or knows a teacher could guess that teaching is a stressful job, or maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe
It's a
that's
lot. It's a
right.
lot.
People, especially last year, with all the COVID stuff, and not to say that other people's jobs aren't stressful either, but like just all the unknowns. Like every day I walked in, I got thrown around all these different places. I never knew what I was doing. Sometimes I was subbing for a different teacher. Sometimes I wasn't. I mean, it was a lot.
Yeah.
And, also possibly having to miss work for like fertility treatments and stuff. And so we talked about it over the summer and I was like, okay, I think we're going to do this. Like, it's scary because I've been working since, I don't know, high school.
Yeah. Wow.
Like I've never not had a job before in my whole life, really. So this is still like very weird that like I'm at my house talking to you at 9 in the morning, whatever. Like normally I'm at work, like
Right.
it's
Yeah.
kind of crazy. But anyway, I think in the long run that will be better for me because that was a huge source of stress.
Yes, for sure. Let me tell you,
So,
sometimes either a job or a relationship can cause symptoms.
mhm.
Can cause symptoms
Yeah,
in your body if it's too demanding, if it's too much. So
right.
it is important, and I think with teaching, it's such an amazing job, but it's a boundaries thing with teaching.
Yes. Oh
It's not
yes,
having
for
that
sure.
boundaries, and sometimes in certain times of your life you can totally afford that. But in other times in your life when you're trying to give yourself the energy and the nurturing, you can't
Hmm.
afford it. And it's really
Right.
good that you realize that this isn't aligning for me right now, and this is something that I have to think about.
Yes. Oh, for sure. Now I like the way you said that. Like, yeah, other times in my life I could afford it, it was okay, not a problem. But,
Yeah,
right now, no. And that's okay. Because
exactly.
of course I've
Exactly.
struggled with that too of like, what am I doing? And I shouldn't be doing, like feeling bad about that. But yeah, that's the better way to look at it. And again, I don't want to add to my stress of like make
Yeah.
myself feel bad about
Yeah,
that
you don't
too.
want to
I don't
add more
enough.
stress. Exactly. So but you
I
know
got
what?
enough.
It all comes down to strategy. Your
Mm-hmm.
wellness is a strategy. Just like you strategize for everything in life, your wellness and your well-being should be a strategy. You should come up with something that makes it work.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Awesome. So
Yeah.
do you have we're actually running out of time,
Oh,
but
that's
do you have any other questions before we go?
I was trying to think if I had anything specific. So you, I know, again, I know you're not a medical doctor, but would, any other suggestions about the tube thing? I mean, I realize some of that, I may not be able to do anything about, but you think like, the breathing, the low stress, lowering inflammation, all of that would hopefully maybe help. I mean,
And
I don't know.
visualizations too.
Anything else?
Visualizations. I mean,
Okay.
if people visualize a lemon, they salivate. You literally can impact your body through visualizations. However, if you
Mm-hmm.
do get pregnant, and hopefully you will, when you do get, we'll say
Mm-hmm.
that, um,
Yes.
you want to, because of your past, I would definitely
Mm-hmm.
push to have an OB check you early on and look at your
Oh, yes.
uterus. You got to be on top of that
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that it's in the right
Absolutely.
place. Yeah,
Oh,
without a
yeah, for
doubt.
sure. That's definitely something I was planning to do this time because of what
Yeah,
happened before and the fact that they didn't catch it, right away. So yeah, we're going to be, kind of bothering them to come in sooner this
you have
time,
to be on top
since
of
I'm
them
in a
because
special
sometimes,
case
they'll
for
push it
sure.
off. Do not let them push
Right.
it,
Right. Oh,
push
for
for
sure.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes,
So,
definitely. Okay.
yeah, so you are such a pleasure, by the way. You have such a positive energy, and I really want you to keep me posted. You have my email, so write
Sure.
me to let me
Yeah.
know if there are any updates because I like to kind of follow. It's kind of hard for me to see one part of the story. I want to see what
Oh,
happens.
sure. Of
So,
course. Oh, yeah, for sure.
yeah.
Yes, no, I hope to be one of the success stories. And yes, there's like a long list of people that we'll get to know, almost right away
Yes,
when it
that would be
happens. But yeah,
great.
I will
Yeah.
definitely keep you posted for sure.
I'm wishing you the best of luck and lots of baby dust and
Thank
amazing
you.
things on your journey. I think you're definitely doing the right things. You're really not leaving any stone unturned. So I think that's great. And wishing you the
Okay.
best. Thank you so much for sharing your story so bravely for the
Sure.
listeners to hear.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, if I can help even a person or a few people, or at least encourage them, then totally I'm all about that.
Thank you, Jessica.
Thanks, Michelle.
So I hope you enjoyed this episode. This is the first time I've ever done coaching on my podcast. It is a lot of fun, and I'm sure it's going to help because many of you may relate to what Jessica had just mentioned. If you guys ever want to work with me personally, I do offer fertility coaching. I do have programs that I do online, and it's a lot more customized, one-on-one. And eventually we'll do group coaching, but right now I'm only doing one-on-one. So if you ever are interested in working with me, you can actually find how to do that with going on my website, which is michelleorovitz.com, and it says a work with us or work with me tab, and that's where you can find out and schedule a discovery call. I do offer free discovery calls, or you could just go ahead and email me in the email form. So I respond at least within a week, and I hope to hear from you guys. And I hope you enjoyed this podcast. So that concludes today's episode. You can find all of the links mentioned on the episode notes. If you're enjoying these episodes, please take a moment to share and leave a review. Reviews mean everything to podcasters, and I really enjoy hearing from my listeners. You can also find me on my website at www.thewholesomelotus.com or email me at info@thewholesomelotus.com. I love hearing from my listeners. If you're interested and want updates as well as a free ebook on my top 10 fertility boosting habits, you can visit my fertility page on www.thewholesomelotus.com. I thank you so much for listening in and hope that you have a beautiful day.